Hi, this is Misty. I'm here to look over the chart of Eric and James today. I am so happy to look further into the relationship that James has with his parents. What a great idea. I think this is just going to further give great areas of insight and give encouragement and just fun information for the future of this wonderful relationship you guys are growing here with little James. So first, I wanted to start with Eric's chart, just since we already went over James before. Um, just looking at his chart individually, I saw a couple of things. It looks like he has a triple Earth, big three, so he's a Capricorn rising, and he has a Virgo sun and he has a Taurus moon. So the person that jumps out to me here is the Taurus moon is the exalted expression of the moon. So in all of our moon positions, to have the Taurus moon is great because it gives a sense of calm, stability, harmonious seeking energy. So at his emotional level, he really wants to be in a stable and comfortable, peaceful environment. So to be having children in your life, that's a really great moon sign to have because it just gives you this sense that he doesn't want to go anywhere. He wants to build a solid foundation, and his moon is in the fourth house. So he really, which is interesting because conversely, he may have grown up in a home that was changeable, but now as someone who is creating a home for someone else, he really wants to build a emotional stable foundation for his offspring. So it's just a really powerful position for him to have. You see Chiron's in the fourth house with him there, so he may have had some turbulence in the home. Sometimes there could be like feeling rejected by family at times, but this is just more power for him to not want that for his kids. He wants to create a stable environment for his kids. And I think that is a really beautiful thing in his chart. Also, I just wanted to point out the Sun Saturn conjunction and the Saturn ruled chart, right? So his Capricorn ascendant, the ruler for that is Saturn. So the whole chart then is ruled by Saturn. So where is Saturn in his chart? It's in the eighth house with the Sun and Virgo. This Sun conjunction, um, it can just be that he has taken on a lot of responsibilities in his life. He's not afraid of hard work and he's not afraid of being the one that people have to rely on. In Virgo, he's probably used to being needed by people and he takes that seriously. This is a very serious combination when Saturn and the Sun are that close. It usually means that somebody is thinking about the big picture of things, like how is this going to affect the people that I care about with it being in the eighth house. He has a lot of patriarch kind of energy about him. So that is a strength as you're looking at his relationship with his son. He's not going to take that lightly. Almost everything he looks at in life is with a serious lens of responsibility and logic and practicality. So he's not one that's going to run away from hardships. He's not somebody that's a fair weather parent. He's here for the hard parts. He's here for the whole thing. He is grounded in what he's doing. He doesn't do things by accident. He's a purposeful person. And that is the impression I get of Eric. So now let's look at Eric and James. There's a lot going on here. I was looking at this chart forever because there are so many things going on. So let's see. Wanted to start with James is the outer ring. Eric is the inner ring. So on the outside, we have Jupiter for James, all the way down here in the fourth house. So that's the house of home. So James is going to feel like his home with Eric's relationship with him is kind of like a larger than life situation. So trining Eric's ascendant would mean that this is one of those karmic relationships. Anytime we have anything with the ascendant or the descendant, the MC, the IC, all of these lines or the nodes crossing with anybody's suns or other personal like moon or the ascendant, when they cross, we know that these are real soulful connections. So right here, the first thing it's a trine the ascendant situation. So it's a harmonious. And it just looks like James being in Eric's life teaches him a lot of things. It teaches him adventure and teaches him to appreciate like this love of life. And like he's just gonna really love James's enthusiasm about life. And it really teaches Eric to kind of like soften and like be more adventurous and take risks. It brings this like you can kind of take chances more for the sake of experiencing life. And it's really nice. It really gives Eric a fresh perspective on like being more optimistic and playful. And it's a really nice balance to sometimes Eric's like more restrictive attitude on life, kind of thinking where Saturn's the ruler, it's kind of like, well, we shouldn't be doing all this play. We should be planning. We should be working hard. What have we taken care of all of our responsibilities first? Well, James in his life is more like, actually, no, Dad, like we can lighten up and we can enjoy this and we can have fun together. So that's a really fun child parent dynamic there. Then the North Node for James down here, the one that looks like a little headphone, is trining the Sun of Eric. So we have this little peaceful relationship here coming all the way across. So this is just another sign that they have been through lives together. They are here to teach each other things. It's kind of that my relationship was written in the stars kind of destiny feeling of this union. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a smooth one or a rough one. It's just that it was a destiny situation. So this one just depends on other aspects going on in the chart, but it's definitely one of purpose and teaching and helping the other one grow. So here it would look more just like a significant relationship. And it looks like where Eric is personally developing still, it's that this change in his course of life of having James is something that is going to help Eric grow into who he's supposed to be. That James is here for a reason for his life. So then let's look at the ascendant for James. So we had the Jupiter in relationship to Eric's. Now, if there's going back, there's a conjunction here of James and his ascendant with Eric's Mars. So it's a wider one. It's a 5-degree orb here, but still significant in the fact that excuse me, here it is. So there's Mars. We've got 5-degree orb here, and in my experience, anything up to 8 degrees is still relevant. So this just kind of means that Eric's going to be the kind of parent that really gets James moving. Like he motivates him, he makes him like take action. So James is going to have these, he already has this kind of like larger than life personality, and people are drawn to him, and he is going to be very influential just because of who he is. And he's learning a lot from the relationships that he's in, But you see when his chart is with his dad's, it's all about balance of the third and the ninth house here. So what we're learning is balance of values and big picture versus the everyday. So it's just like Eric is here to help get him started on things that he needs to do to accomplish bigger things in life. And when when Mars is conjunct the ascendant, it kind of helps like for his whole views on everything. So it looks like Eric's going to be very involved and very interested in what is going on with James's life, and James is in turn going to want to bounce ideas off of him to see if that's something that he should get started in doing. So when things work like that, sometimes the Mars energy can be one of aggression, sometimes too, just in a way that um Mars can be very direct and blunt almost. So sometimes that can be challenges for the just like compromising portions of relationships because Mars doesn't really know that. Mars is just go, go, go. Let's do it. I'm not gonna think about am I hurting someone's feelings. Um but it is an initiator and it kind of helps James get these ideas off the ground into action. So that's a helpful um synastry aspect there. So then we have James's sun um conjunct dad's Mars too, and it's kind of the same thing. There's just this like love of action and energy between these two. Like when they're together, they're gonna do something and they're gonna go on an adventure. We have the ninth house here of the big picture ideas and the higher philosophies and how do we make our dreams come true kind of energy. And together they can take on more risks and they're more impulsive together and energetic and they're not just waiting for things to happen. They're going to go and get what life has to offer from for them. It's a very excitable and passionate energy that they have together. So let's look at some of the things because so far everything's just super positive and super like destined. So I wanted to see where things, if there's anything that there is to work on or to look for when things get a little bit trying at times. Is there anything like that? So where I am looking at that, I see some kind of communication issues when when we see Uranus square Mercury. So James is Uranus, the excitable planet, is down here in his fourth house. So in his family life, he feels like it's larger than life. So I have a feeling like dad's energy is doing good here. He's making a solid foundation for James. James feels like he is blessed in his home and his family presence in his life is really strong. And then he kind of is, well, sometimes I'm gonna rock the boat, like all kids do. And I'm gonna have like really exciting ideas. He has a very like innovative energy about him. And when it comes to his relationship with dad, sometimes dad can take more of a conservative stance on things. That's what I'm looking at here. There's a little square to dad's Mercury. So the communication, dad is Leo Mercury. So his ideas, he's very strongly emotionally attached to his ideas. What he speaks on, he speaks from his heart and he really believes and he's not very compromising on those things because he feels like he's already been there. He knows what is right and he's proud of what he's learned and he's proud of what he's trying to tell James. Well, it looks like James might be like, you know what, out with the old and with the new. I have these great ideas and what I want to do. So there can be a little tension there because they just have different ideas and they might challenge each other on that. And although James's ideas are exciting and innovative, they're in Taurus, so he's strongly fixed in his ideas too. And Dad, Leo, is also a fixed sign. So it looks like at some point there might be some fun debates going on in your household because they're going to, it looks like Dad might be a little bit more traditional and James might be a little bit more, let's try something new. And it looks like there might be, um, it's such a personal relationship that it can become like, well, why doesn't he think exactly like me? And he's not. He's going to think his own way. And James's energy is more in the third house when it comes to Dad. He's more like today, like, what are we doing right now? My world is going on around me now. And Dad is kind of like, hey, but have you thought about where you want to go in life, the big picture? Don't forget that, what you do today matters for long term. So I could see them having different beliefs on those things because they're in different wheelhouses on that. And that is going to make for a lot of learning for both of them on how do we talk about this? How do we learn to compromise? They have a little bit of learning to do as far as their values in general. So Jupiter, again with James, is what we call a quincunx aspect to Eric's Mars. So it's kind of that's all about just trying to find a balance. And when James has ideas, they seem larger than life, that he wants to do it and explore and try things. And it looks like his independent desires are going to kind of challenge Dad's kind of approach in his quest, that his harmony, his Libra Mars isn't always going to think that his ideas are that great. And that sometimes there can be tension on there too, because Mars is kind of like our fighting planet or disagreement, let it be known. So if they just don't have common goals, there's going to be it's going to be a little harder for them to see eye to eye because they both are going to have a lot of strong feelings, and neither of them are going to really want to back down on those. And sometimes I think James is just going to have to do things his way and find out. There's a lot of Aries energy in James where he's growing into that. His North Node, I remember we talked about that in the last video. And it looks like in relation to him and Dad's relationship, James is going to want to do things his way and learn about things his way. And in this moon conjunction with Uranus and the moon here, I feel like sometimes Dad, his emotions, he's going to, there's so much love there, right? He thinks James is brilliant. He thinks he's exciting and adventurous, and he loves that about James. He thinks his ideas are really cool, but emotionally, he's concerned because he wants James to make the right decision. And it can kind of be exhilarating relationship there because it's so fun to see what he's turning into and what he wants to do. But sometimes it's going to make Dad think, why won't he just like slow down and let me tell him what he needs to do? He doesn't need to always be looking for thrills and adventure. He needs to listen to what I'm telling him and take it slow. And I just think sometimes James is going to say, no, I want to do it now and I want to do it my way. And then they will also have common ground up here where they are both concerned about the big picture and having lots of adventures, but there's just some parts that James is going to have to want to do on his own. And in the third house, if we're looking at when that comes around, that usually third house is usually around the school aged years. So somewhere between, of middle high school, that's when this independent energy looks like it's going to start to blossom and give Dad time to work on his patience and communication strategies with James. So speaking of communication, they have a strength here. James, his Mars is up here, and he is sextile Dad's Mercury. So we go here and we go here, and they agree with each other. They're enjoy to talk. They both like to talk about big ideas, and they have both have drive and determination, and they both think that they both enjoy challenges with each other. And even though, Mars likes to fight and Mercury and Leo likes to think that they're right, but they kind of fuel each other sometimes off of their disagreements if they can realize that they both are allowed to live their own lives and they're allowed to disagree and they are allowed to have debates, and they don't have to come together and agree on everything at the end of the conversation, that it's their own lives to live. Then I think that is going to help their personal relationship. And it makes this just kind of looks in this situation that, Dad has more of an intellectual side to him. And obviously that makes sense for the dad. He's been around longer, but he's trying to intellectualize the conversation to convince James of things, and James appreciates it, but the energy there is still the Mars doing energy. So it all kind of comes back again to, well, he's still going to have to do it his way. He's not gonna. I don't think you're gonna talk him into things a lot. He's gonna want to learn it his way. So I think the best thing to do is try to find some level of cooperation, and then showing him by, instead of talking the talk to him, really walking the walk and showing him what it is that you're saying is actually what you're doing and it is actually working, versus giving him lectures. He doesn't look like the kind of kid that's gonna want a bunch of lectures. All right, so let's see. I'm just looking over and see if there's anything else that I really wanted to talk about. The moon and opposition here with James. So I did want to touch on this, that I see James has his moon in Aries opposing a lot of Dad's energy. And sometimes when the moon, our emotional state, is opposing a lot of parents' energies, we kind of get this feeling that like we can be misunderstood. Like, like we're threatened by the power of the authority, and we just either retreat, or an Aries moon can kind of do that lashing out, that, seemingly unprovoked anger. But really, if you look, it almost looks like he's carrying all of Dad's opinions and pressures on his shoulders emotionally. And this is when it's feeling heavier in these situations. That's why, because sometimes with Pluto opposing, it kind of feels like the oppression of it. So somebody is trying to control the other person. And in a parent relationship, that makes sense, right? Dad has to make rules, and it's going to feel like that. So it's about finding ways to make James still feel like he has choices and independence, because that's where emotionally he needs to feel like he needs to feel that independence, and the Aries needs to feel independent. So the more choices Dad can give him, the better their relationship is going to be for James. So he doesn't have to feel like he is just being forced to do things. We can give James as many choices as he can get, so he feels like he is running his own life in all the areas that he safely can. And Dad's got this energy up here, but it's all in Libra. the dad is a pretty balanced person. He's not going to go on some kind of uh authoritarian tyrant raid. He's very level-headed, it looks like. He's balanced. He's fair. I think if James has a good argument, he's going to hear him out. But at the end of the day, Eric is the dad, so he has to make the call sometimes. But you see how sensitive James is about it. He feels like um he's being forced to do things sometimes. So I think if we can keep James as independent as possible and let him choose things, then he's going to feel less of that. And that was pretty much the only hardship I could see, is when James feels like, in the teenage years, that he's not making choices for himself, if he can get lashing out about that when really he's trying to develop his independence. Um, but I think this is the best possible sign situation for this, that dad has so much peaceable energy about him. I think he can he can take it, and he can be rational in a place where the James may be a little irrational. Dad's strength is that he's very rational. And Triple Earth, I mean, he's not going to get shaken that easily. And I think there's patience. There's stern, and there is still having to take an authoritative route, because he's not going to be any kind of pushover. But that's good, because with all this energy and in this rash impulsivity that can come out of James, that's exactly what dad needs to be. So I think it's just great how everything kind of comes together. It just goes back to that relationship, that destiny type of relationship, where it's like they both wanted to be in these different roles to learn these different things from each other. And James needs to see this calm, logical, rational minded person to be a leader and guiding him up to all that he can be. And it really looks like that's what dad is doing for him. Dad is telling him, look at the big picture of life. How are we going to get there? And I'm going to show you. I think that's really beautiful. Okay, well, I think that's everything that I had for the two of them. They have a lot of connections here. I mean, there's just nothing is by accident. I feel like everything is on purpose, and they really are learning a lot from each other. So I think they're going to have a lot of fun together. This just looks like a big, exciting, loving relationship between all of you. And I am so happy that you wanted to do this reading too. And I hope that you have all the answers you needed. If you had any specific areas that I didn't touch on, but you would like to know about, that's fine. Let me know, and I will either answer it in a text, or I will make another short video for you. Okay, that's all for now then. Thank you so much.